Hey there. Good afternoon. Not legal advice. And really, and you'll understand why I'm saying this is my opinion only. I think I say it every time I do a video, but I guess not everybody hears this, and it'll make more sense in a second. But this is my opinion. Okay. Hope everybody's well. Um, Not legal advice, obviously. I made it a combination topic or whatever whatever you want to call it, because I think it is a way of showing that this applies to everybody and everybody needs to take it seriously and think about it, and it'll make sense in a second. Of course, I have to tell my bad jokes, and today we're going to focus, and again, of course, this will make more sense. This is an extremely religious set of jokes and involves lawyers too, which is an interesting combination. Lawyers have feelings too, allegedly. How does a pregnant woman know that she's carrying a lawyer? She has an extreme craving for bologna. What is the difference between God and a federal court judge? God doesn't believe he's a federal court judge. And last but not least, why did God make snakes before lawyers? To practice. Anyway, hope everybody is well. So, MMTLP. So I've obviously been involved in MMTLP, still am involved in MMTLP. Have reached out to the attorneys recently based upon new information, and we'll see where that goes. I've not received a response, but it was sent this week to the attorneys for Fidelity, so we'll see where that goes. But what happened within Fidelity and that arbitration is at some point in time, the other side said they watched all my videos. Now, extremely flattering, I have to admit, flattering that both the head of Fidelity, the CEO, all the employees, etc., are required to watch my videos, and I'm again extremely thrilled by that, and the attorneys too, and probably charging like $1,000 an hour. So they're watching my videos too. I need more subscribers too, though. So if you just watch the video, please subscribe next time. But in the arbitration, they indicated that they were literally watching my videos. So I found that interesting. Now, of course, when I speak, I always speak with the understanding, one, I hope I'm speaking truthfully, at least that's the intention. And two, I usually state, and usually whatever I'm talking about is opinion. So, but anyway, so, I've heard on Spaces and X, whatever, we hear about there's interlopers that come into Spaces and, people make those claims. And I presume that there are people that are up to no good that come into those spaces. And as a matter of fact, I heard somebody today on Junk Savvy's space, and he jumped in. He was pretty dismissive, I would say. And ultimately, to sum up what he said is he trusted FINRA and the government. So what they said has to be the truth. And if that's the case, then we're ridiculous. So I found that premise somewhat naive, and I found his attitude dismissive and nonsensical. So that's my 2 cents worth. But I don't know if that was a shill or that was his opinion. If that's his opinion, then so be it. Then just he's not very sophisticated, despite the fact he thinks he is. But if that's a shill, then so be it. But we have to remember, based upon what Fidelity and the lawyers say, they have confirmed they're watching our social media stuff. So you have to presume that whatever you're doing now, somebody's watching it. So brings us to GTII. GTII, obviously, I've been involved with GTII because I think that there are numerous problems with regard to management. My opinion about that. So I've been involved with others who are taking legal action. And, obviously at this point in time, everybody knows that legal action is coming, including, I believe, GTII. And I indicated the last 3 days, they put out PRs. I thought in part that was to set up a defense or look like they were interested in interested in shareholders. At least that's kind of like my opinion was. And the last one, I think I kind of ripped apart what they were doing about the audit, and I was making questions about that. So I must have really annoyed them, because today, this afternoon, I received a letter. Now, this is a emailed letter, which I printed out, that turns it into paper. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but the letter says it was emailed and hand delivered, which is interesting because I didn't get a hand delivery. Now, do I really care? Because I acknowledge I got the letter, but that's a inaccuracy. The other thing that struck me, and this is kind of amazing what kind of nonsense strikes lawyers, but I look at the letterhead, and it lists 4 names. And then when I go to the signature, it only lists 3. Huh. How do you like that? A little bit of sloppiness? Just a thought. That was what I found, by the way, when I looked. I think it was the 10K. I think I looked at one of the 10Ks involving GTII, and I saw typos, and that in and of itself kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So, law firm that says they're representing GTII, and again, I've been working with somebody who I'm sure in very short term, it's not going to be today. Let's see, on the weekend, probably not. We'll see thereafter. But I'm sure there may be some new details of upcoming activity soon, and we will deal with that. But in the meantime, probably because in my discussion, why would they be sending a letter to me, little old me? And I'll tell you basically what they said. But why would they send it to me if they knew they were going to face legal problems, if they're trying to set up a defense? Or is there another reason? Is this they're blowing their wad in essence? Or are they just trying to intimidate shareholders? Or is there some reason, some other reason? I just don't know. But it struck somebody else who is familiar with GTII very odd that they were sending this letter to me today, especially today. And we went through a discussion, and in the discussion, we thought that maybe there's outside reasons for that. Anyway, and I know people have thrown that out before, but it's really, really interesting. So what happened? So I got a letter from a law firm in Orange County. I'm not going to tell you the name now, but maybe at some point in time, if you want to express how you feel about GTII, your own opinion, maybe I'll give you a name and number and you can kind of express it if you so choose. But in essence, what they say is another party to be heard from. They also watch my videos. So, I have like 3 subscribers, and 2 are law firms and the defendants. How do you like that out of the 3? But they have been following my videos, and they list a whole bunch of comments that I apparently made. Doesn't have any context, and I don't even know if they're accurate, but there's a whole list of comments that they claim are not particularly flattering to the gentleman over here at GTII. And they asked me to retract the comments, to tell me who I've spoken to, and some other stuff. And it gives me till June 26th at the end of business to respond. And it says I've been a bad boy. I've been a bad boy. And it says my desire is to hurt GTII. Well, interestingly enough, yesterday was my last video where I criticized the audit. And today, the stock was up magically 9.44%, which I found interesting. So perhaps one can argue that my whining about the company actually has improved stock performance. How do you like that? But there's a whole list of claims against me. It says don't act. Obviously, to me, in my opinion, and that's why I keep on using that term, in my opinion, this is an attempt either that they're really annoyed because I've annoyed them for quite some period of time, it's part of some other bigger strategy that will soon evidence itself, or something else. I don't know. But in essence, they're trying to shut me up and tell me not to speak, to retract my remarks, and to go home. Now, as I suggested, next week there might be things that happen that might relate to things they claim I asserted about management, which would be funny in a way. And it might, in fact, prove some of these points if you can read through them. And you notice I'm not referencing them, and I'll explain why. But some of these points, if they make sense, and that might be me or them, I can't tell if they're directly quoting me, but they may be dealt with in proceedings that are coming soon, which would be funny in a way in my mind. It would be like saying that chocolate cake is black, and then having a trial and putting the chocolate cake on and showing it was black. That's basically what they're. So another way of saying it is, if they accuse me of something and then in a dispute that fact is proven to be true, it's kind of funny in a way. So I really appreciate them watching my videos. They've told me to be quiet. So this is what I'm going to do. Since next week there may be things that are public, I am going to wait till next week to disclose those public things, unless in the meantime they put out another PR that I think needs commentary, as I've done the last three, or they send me another letter or make another threat to try to shut me up, or they threaten to sue me, as this letter is. If that's the case, I'll deal with it. But otherwise, as I was planning anyway, I'll just wait till things become public. And at that time, I'll reference what the public documents say. In addition to that, as I've indicated, when there are any kind of material proceedings, if there are in the future, I will be in attendance and I will be able to comment to all of you to let you know what was going on, the good news, the bad news. And if in fact there needs to be testimony provided or factual background, I will provide that too. But I found it interesting because it's now two occasions where, and again, I don't really care who it is, which side. I think the problem is here, we've talked about it. It's the capital markets, the hedge funds, the brokers, the regulators, and it's management at times too. And we have to take on who we can take on. So obviously, they're not big fans of I, and that's why this letter was generated. But somebody posed something that I found interesting. They said yesterday they were going to do an audit to take care of the 2022-2023 audit by that firm Borgers that was hired by GTII. That firm Borgers turned out to be a scam operation. I don't think they can contest that. And I also don't think they can contest, because I saw it, that the CEO is also the chief financial officer and the chief accounting officer at that time. But I do have one correction, or one clarification, I should say. And Big JR helped me get to this point. So I went back and looked at the cancellation. So a few days ago, they canceled 36 million plus shares. I think Mr. Rabari announced that cancellation, but the language was a little confusing. So they said it was erroneous or inadvertent. And then it refers to the separate paragraph. It refers to the hiring of Mr. Rabari and the cancellation of shares based upon the shares being inadvertent or erroneous. And I couldn't tell if that referred to shares issued to Mr. Rabari. And I'm not certain, but I think they're trying to communicate that after 7 months, because Mr. Rabari apparently was hired December 1, according to the firm, and the shares were, I guess, canceled in June of 2024. So after 7 months, they're claiming, I guess, that Mr. Rabari is the one who found out that those were either erroneously issued or inadvertently issued, whatever that is. I don't know what happened to the rest of the shares issued that day. If you recall, January 25th, 2023, there appears close to be 70 million shares issued that day. By the way, in the statement, the list of misstatements I purportedly made, that's not in there. That's what I just said. Maybe it should be, maybe perhaps. And if they want to correct, that's fine. I've asked for corrections on multiple times. But just to make the record clear, it could be that they're claiming that Rabari is the one who discovered the erroneous and inadvertent shares issued to directors or whoever it was, and that's what necessitated the cancellation of the shares, but doesn't explain what happened to the other 34 million shares, if there was 70. And if some were erroneously or inadvertently issued, then why weren't others erroneously and inadvertently issued? It just seems confusing to me. Somebody, though, told me that if, in fact, they go ahead with the audit, because they'd have to audit, just imagine this. So they were fortunate enough to hire the auditor that got squashed by the SEC. And I mean squashed like an elephant. Basically, doors shut, put out of business, and fined. But that's the auditor they chose in 2023 to do the financials for 2022 and 2023 that they now have to have audited. And what's also interesting is the prior auditor did not sign off on the 10K for that year and didn't renew their engagement not long after that 70 million in shares was issued to various parties. Interesting. I find that interesting. So, but I want to give credit to Mr. Rabari to the extent he found that after 7 months, although I would think if he was going to go into the COO position, that the financials of the company probably would be something that was relevant. And if you looked at the financials and the only substantial share issuance happened on one day, that might be something that might catch your attention. Maybe, perhaps. The management must have been happy with Mr. Rabari because they hired him as COO, so he must have done a good job. I don't know if he discovered that stock issuance before. I don't know. I have no idea. Again, I only had one conversation with Mr. Rabari, and he was clear in our discussion, and I've related that discussion. So why am I not going to discuss specifically what they told me I said? Because theoretically, and we're going to lay out the legal part here, and we'll see where this goes. Sometimes people send out, it's funny because there was a demand letter that was talked about today about MMTLP. So this is the reverse side of it. This is a demand letter saying, you've been a bad boy. You've harmed GTII. And stop it and do a retraction. That's what this letter says. Funny in a way. So why wouldn't I disclose the name? So let's say for the sake of discussion, I'm acting as a lawyer now. So I'm a lawyer to myself. So if you're a lawyer and you don't know the absolute truth, and every time you publish a false statement, that would be a new wrong. So if any of the statements I made here are inaccurate and they could theoretically be damaging, if I say it again here, it's a new claim. So until I respond, and I have to respond by the 26th, which is next Wednesday, it's not like it's going to take a long time to respond. So not till I respond will I kind of address what my response is, because I will do that each time, as I've done to this point in time. But if I repeated something and it turned out to be inaccurate, whatever, then that could be a wrong. So how do I look at this legally speaking, generally, because I'm not going to be specific? One, there is an issue about making public statements in the interests of the public and whether those are protected. And there's a set of statutes and law that applies to that. So that would be one aspect of a way you might deal with somebody trying to shut you up in a public sphere. Two, you might say that what they're claiming is inaccurate. That would be a second part. So somebody copied either transcribed a bunch of videos, or can you imagine this? They're watching this stupid, because they're obviously watching this video. So they're watching this stupid video, and somebody has to write down whatever I say. Now, I don't know if they're transcribing it, so they get a full transcription of the video, and then they have to go through it piece by piece, or some guy named Ira is listening to me and just kind of jotting down what I'm saying. Because some of the comments, they don't make sense, and they don't seem to be complete. There also doesn't seem to be a context to them. So it may not be true. That's 2. 3, opinion is usually protected. So I mean, as I do every video, everything I say here is opinion, and no matter whose show I'm on, it's opinion, and it's pretty clear. And I think the name "Not Legal Advice" is suggestive of that too. So opinion is usually not actionable either. And 4th, truth, to like a claim of defamation, truth is a defense. So if my statements turn out to be true, then sorry, Charlie. Their other claim kind of around that is that I'm trying to wreck the business. And that is it's humorous, completely untrue. I've spent enough time. I mean, if somebody had paid me like $100 million, maybe. Nobody's paid me anything. I did this completely on my own. Didn't want to see shareholders get taken, as that was my opinion. That's what was happening. And that's the way it goes. So they tried to, they suggested not to speak about this. I elected to. So we've put it out there now. The law firm has threatened me, and I guess they would threaten others who might make similar remarks. I don't think that's acceptable, to be honest. You could see that I'm terribly concerned about this. It is obviously, it's a pain, it's an annoyance. That's what it's designed to be. But when I looked at the comments, the first thing that occurred to me, because I looked at them, there's like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 21 comments. When I looked at them, the first thing that occurred to me is, yeah, those are all true. And if given the opportunity, I would love the opportunity to prove up my defense. And I was thinking about that too, because I don't know if this is a bluff or this is true, but I can only imagine, lawyer, like on the other side, they may not get all the details. So their client may tell them part of the story. I think I have a really good grasp of the facts, and I know where a lot of the dirt is. So I was thinking, if they sued me, it wouldn't be do I like to get sued? No, not a fun thing. Takes time, effort, whatever. And eventually I'd have to have a counsel do a trial and whatever. So it cost me money too. But it also would give me the opportunity to pull off the clothes of the CEO and expose him. They would have to prove up that all the things I say are not true. They'd have to justify that, open their books, expose all their dealings. So, I thought about that again, mixed feelings about it. Not that I really want to be involved in more litigation involving GTII. And again, I'm expecting a lot of information to come out next week, and I will be able to communicate that very accurately. And I think, this again is just an idea, a way of shutting up. But really what we need to be aware of, that there are shills, there are our opponents are watching social media, and everything we say can be used. That's just kind of the way you have to go. So before you speak, think about that. And if you're fine with it and you don't mind if someone has that information, then great. But if you're involved in something and you want to keep something confidential, then keep it confidential, because obviously there are people out there that will watch if we're opposed to their views. So So obviously, I will keep you apprised. Any other PRs or letters come in before I have news to report, I will let you know. When I have news to report, I will let you know. And when I respond to this letter that was received today and dated June 21st, I will let you know too. Anyway, hopefully this made sense. That's why the title was as such. It's it's a tactic that we will face, and it's designed to shut us up, and we shouldn't let them shut us up. We should use our power, our collective power, to tell the truth and gain transparency. So everybody have a great weekend. I hope not to speak to you again this weekend, but if it should be required, I will. And we will talk next week. And again, all my opinion, just my opinion and my thoughts. You can draw your own conclusions. Everybody be well, take care. Have a great weekend.